Have you ever felt trapped in a routine that doesn't reflect who you truly are? As if you're living a limited version of yourself, unable to reach your full potential? The truth is, many of us grow up hearing that we must conform, that our place is on the ground. But what if that story isn't yours? Like an eagle raised among chickens, perhaps you're ignoring your wings while adapting to a reality that was never meant for you. Now, think for a moment. What would you do if you discovered you were born to fly? The story you're about to hear isn't just about an eagle. It's about rediscovering your essence, challenging limits, and spreading your wings to the sky. What's holding you back? The answer might change the way you see your life, and maybe even transform your future entirely. From the very beginning, the universe seemed to toy with the pieces of destiny. A single egg, different from all the others, ended up among chickens. It was a simple mistake, yet with enormous implications. A hen, guided by her unquestionable maternal instinct, embraced this peculiar egg, protecting it as her own. When it hatched, the little eagle had no idea it was different. From its first steps, it scratched the ground alongside the others, learning that its life would be confined to the earth. Simplicity ruled, but its essence awaited the right moment to emerge. Imagine growing up believing your world is confined by fences. That was the eagle's life, a creature designed to rule the skies, yet convinced it belonged to the ground. Everyone around it encouraged this belief. Scratching is safe, flying is dangerous, they said. After all, who could question the rules of that small universe? Life was practical, predictable, and no one seemed to notice the extraordinary being hidden among them. But what if, by chance, you were living a reality that wasn't meant for you? The eagle lived as a chicken simply because it had never known anything else. What would you do in its place? Keep living as others expect, or question if there's something more? It's a kind of thought we often let slip by, isn't it? After all, it's much easier to adapt to what already exists than to look beyond. And here lies the big question. How many times do we accept limits that aren't truly ours? The eagle didn't know how to fly because no one had ever taught it. How many of our abilities lie dormant simply due to a lack of encouragement? Perhaps it's time to look inward and ask, am I living my potential or settling for a comfortable life? This is just the first piece of the puzzle. The real movement begins when something within us calls for more. The eagle's life in the chicken coop carried on peacefully, but an unease began to grow. Without realizing it, the eagle carried a difference that no one around her could understand. She moved among the chickens as though she belonged, but something always felt out of place. When she looked at the sky, she felt something indescribable, as if a distant world were calling her. This restlessness grew slowly, almost imperceptibly, yet persistently, like a small spark waiting to ignite into a blazing fire. The curious thing about nature is that it cannot be entirely erased. Even surrounded by chickens, the eagle had stronger claws, more robust wings, and a different stance. Yet no one questioned it. It was easier to ignore the obvious. This is a reality many of us face. Our environment shapes us and can even convince us to believe we are something we are not. How often have you adapted to a pattern that doesn't align with who you truly are? One day, as she scratched the ground, the eagle saw a massive shadow pass above her. She looked up and, for the first time, noticed something extraordinary. Another eagle, majestically soaring through the sky. That sight struck her like lightning. It was as though something dormant inside her had awakened. Why can't I do that? She wondered. But the doubt was quickly silenced by the voices of the chicken coop. Don't be foolish. You're just like us. Stay where it's safe. And so, the internal battle began. On one side, the safety of what she knew. On the other, the call of something greater that she couldn't ignore. It's fascinating how comfort can become a disguised prison. Many of us live this dilemma, caught between the familiar and the unknown. The question that remains is, what do you do when the world tells you to stay, but your soul insists on going? Sometimes, the answer lies in what you choose to see. The eagle's awakening started as a whisper, an idea so small it almost seemed insignificant. Watching other eagles soaring in the sky stirred something deep within her. It was hard to ignore that latent desire. Yet, fear of the unknown held her back. What if I try to fly and fall? She asked herself. But there was something stronger than fear, an uncontrollable need to discover who she truly was. After all, how long can someone deny their own essence? As time passed, her dissatisfaction with life in the chicken coop grew. The fences that once seemed protective now felt like a prison. The eagle began to see everything with new eyes. Why can't I feel complete? She wondered. It's curious how, once you start questioning the obvious, the world never seems the same again. Slowly, she began to experiment. She tried opening her wings, felt the wind, and flapped them once. It wasn't much, but it was enough to spark a new kind of courage. One day, as she gazed at the sky, an old farmer saw her. He knew what she truly was, even if she didn't. With patience, he approached, picked her up, and carried her to the top of a nearby mountain. You don't belong to the ground. You belong to the sky, the man said. The eagle looked down, overwhelmed by fear. What came next was far beyond her comfort zone. But in that moment, something shifted. The old farmer released the eagle, and for the first time, she was forced to open her wings. The sensation was both terrifying and exhilarating. At first, it seemed as though she would fall, but soon she felt the wind supporting her body. And then it happened. She flew. That moment was not just a physical achievement, but the breaking of a limiting belief that had held her back for so long. How often are we thrown into situations that force us to grow? The question now is, what would come next in this newfound flight? The eagle's story transcends her own experience. It reflects a part of each of us. Often, we live as though we are chickens in the coop of life, conditioned by beliefs and routines that limit us. What holds us back isn't a lack of ability, but the fear of breaking free from comfort. Reflecting on this can be unsettling, but it's also liberating. What if your greatest limitation isn't real? Perhaps it's just a habit you haven't yet challenged. Every choice we make involves deciding between the safety of the familiar and the risk of exploring the unknown. The eagle in the chicken coop represents our daily struggles, staying where we are or exploring what we could become. The seemingly small decisions, like accepting a job that doesn't challenge us or conforming to norms that don't define us, carry immense impact. Small steps toward the sky, like learning a new skill or challenging an old belief, mark the beginning of any great flight. It's also crucial to remember that time is a finite resource. Just as the eagle could have spent her entire life on the ground, many of us remain trapped in the stories we've been told. If you don't question these narratives, who will? Ask yourself, what fences exist in my world? And more importantly, how can I tear them down? The key lies in trying. Start small, but don't stop growing. Choose one action today, whether it's reading an inspiring book or speaking to someone who has achieved what you aspire to. Finally, the most powerful lesson is about identity. The eagle's essence never changed, but she needed to recognize it to soar. The same is true for us. The world may try to shape us, but who we truly are will always remain, waiting to emerge. What will you do with this truth? The choice is yours. Stay in the comfort of the ground or spread your wings for the unknown. The next step is understanding how to turn this awakening into action. After all, what is freedom if not lived? The story of the eagle in the chicken coop leaves us with a simple yet profound question. How long will you accept a life that doesn't reflect who you truly are? The moment to change isn't tomorrow, nor the day after. It's now. What steps can you take today to leave the coop and spread your wings? Perhaps it's pursuing something you've always wanted to learn, reconnecting with an old dream, or even rethinking your priorities. Action, no matter how small, is what begins to transform your reality. Remember, you were born to fly, but flying requires courage. The sky is waiting, and it's up to you. Share in the comments what's holding you back or what you plan to do to start your transformation. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you can keep receiving inspiration to live your purpose. Because here, with every video, we're flying higher together. This closing section emphasizes the key takeaway, that our essence, like the eagle's, is unchangeable, Yet it takes conscious effort to break free from the limitations we've accepted. It's a call to action, urging the audience to reflect, make a choice, and take the first steps toward their own personal transformation. The message ties back to the beginning, creating a full-circle narrative that inspires and empowers. What sets this story apart is how relatable it is to our everyday lives. We all have chicken coops, comfort zones, or limiting beliefs that hold us back. The eagle's journey mirrors our own struggles and triumphs, making the story not just an allegory, but a guide for self-discovery and growth. The final question invites introspection and serves as a reminder that the power to change lies within each of us. As we take this lesson forward, the story encourages continuous action. Whether it's daring to try something new, challenging a long-held belief, or simply taking a small step toward a bigger goal, the journey begins with one decisive moment. The eagle's flight becomes a metaphor for the freedom and potential that awaits when we embrace who we are meant to be. So, what will you do next? The call to action is clear. Take control of your story and soar. The world needs more eagles to leave the ground and inspire others to do the same. The journey is yours to define, and the sky is limitless.